Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Captain Creativity. I am your host, David Merel, and I am here with the latest and greatest from QIDI, the X-Max. What do you mean?
It's not the latest.
What do you mean it's not the latest?
The Plus 4 came out a few days ago.
Are you f***ing kidding me? Then what the f*** am I doing here then? What is the point of me doing this? I don't understand then. Why am I doing this video? Oh my God, why am I doing this video? You know, every single time I buy a printer 2 days later, this is ridiculous. Oh my God, what am I doing then? This is ridiculous. Oh my God, f***ing ridiculous. All right, folks, let's take it from the top. First, I want to state that no 3D printers were harmed during the filming of this video. And the other thing is, I want to stand corrected. We will not be unboxing the latest QIDI 3D printer, even though, yes, I do plan on getting the new Plus 4 shortly. However, there are some real benefits to continue to buy the X-Max, or what they call the Tech X-Max 3, mainly for the fact that this is an actual bigger printer than the Plus 4. Now, with that being said, this printer here is exactly the same price as the Plus 4. So QIDI does see that both of these printers currently still hold equal value. Some people are going to want to go with the extra size, and some people are going to go with the newer features and some enhancements to the printer. As we go ahead and unbox this 3D printer today, I'm going to go ahead and make those comparisons along the way so that you at the end of this video can make an educated decision of whether to get the Plus 4 or to get the QIDI 3 Max. And I think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised that it's going to really depend on you. So let's begin on unboxing this beast.
Welcome to the show that sets your mind free. Tech and gadgets, 3D surprise. Captain Creativity. Honesty inside to regularity. With David's guiding light, invention spark and take their flight.
Okay, when you first take this out, you're going to notice over here that we have some rubber feet, which will help with stabilization. We have some tools, an extruder manual, some tools, an Ethernet cable, a scraper, and a USB flash drive. All right, now you should really use 2 people to lift this. Oh my God, this is so heavy. Okay. Definitely always try to get a friend to help you. Okay, so let's begin by taking all this off. Okay, so here are some things that we have in the box. They include 500 grams of filament, power cable, spool holder, a glue stick for the bed. I actually like the one that I have now, so I don't think I'm going to use it. A very fancy filament case holder. Oh, and carbon to kind of like pull out any kind of noxious fumes or odors, etc., and to just kind of clean the air. Very nice. All right, so let's put those pieces to the side. We're not gonna need those yet. So inside the bag comes a special piece of paper, which you're supposed to use for the bed leveling. This is the paper that they've created that they feel is the right thickness. On this printer, unfortunately, you do have to level the Z offset. That's definitely the biggest bummer of this printer is that, but we're gonna just put that to the side for now. One of the things that I love about unboxing Core XY printers is I will absolutely say they're so much easier than bed slingers. Where bed slingers tend to have much more assembly, you have to put the gantry on the base, and there's more to it. This is really pretty much almost ready to go. You just have to snap some straps and then just basically remove some screws that they held it down during transportation. So I am now gonna show you a close-up. Okay, so as you can see here, we have some straps inside, and we are going to just snip those off. Okay. We also have one over here that's holding the extruder in place, and we're gonna take that out, kind of move it out of the way. Okay, take out the cardboard. And now we're gonna take out these straps here. Try to be very careful when you do that. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go to the front of the printer here. So you're gonna notice over here that there are 4 screws that we have to remove. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We can also just remove the plate for the time being to take that plastic off. And now let's go ahead and remove those screws. Okay, and here we are removing the screws. So we're gonna go ahead and just remove those on all 4 sides. Now, one thing that I missed is there's actually one more strap in the top left corner. Just go ahead and grab that out. Okay. And of course, we're gonna go ahead and remove our PEI sheet and put it right back into the printer. The next thing we're gonna do is I'm just gonna pop in this activated carbon. So we're just gonna go ahead and open up this bag. Do not confuse this with your desiccant bags. Basically, this is activated carbon, all right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up that window here, and we're gonna put it right in there. Okay, so if we take a look over here, there'll probably be a piece of tape. I already removed it, but then you pull this off like so. And then essentially, what you're gonna do is you're gonna just slide it right in there. There you go. All right, so the key is just to kind of push those beads around. And that's the only thing I'll tell you, because and it's actually really hard to get back out. But I mean, I guess there's a way to take this whole thing off, but sliding it in there, once it's in, it's in. I could not get it out after that. So now we're gonna actually install the filament holder. And so what we're gonna do is take this bar here, and we're gonna place it on the back, slide it straight down. We're then gonna take this part out, and you just twist it, and you pull that out, and then we're gonna put this unit in. But before we do that, I wanna show you a breakdown of this filament holder. It's actually quite cool, and it's one of the most advanced filament holders I've seen bundled with printers. So let's check that out. So what we're gonna do is open up this box, and basically it acts both as a dryer, which is really cool, and it also includes some desiccant with it, which is great. And so we're gonna go ahead and just open that up. It gives you a nice large packet of desiccant. That's gonna keep your filter nice and dry. And so we're gonna go ahead and put that right into this little pocket here. And then what we're gonna also end up doing here is we're going to take out this plug. There's a little plug here. We're gonna remove that so that we can now start loading our filament through. But if you ever want to store something, you just put the plug back in. It'll keep it nice and dry. Now, the cool thing about this is that you can actually run your tube straight into the runout sensor over here. And what's great about that is that it goes straight in, and so that it's really never exposed to the environment at that point. So that is really key. All right, so with that being said, let's continue to dive further into this. All right, so we're gonna go ahead, take the filament that they gave us, why not? And we're gonna go ahead and load it up. All right, so we put it right in there. And what they also include in here is, yes, here is that tube which you're gonna pop in later. I'm gonna show you that in just a moment. And then they give you these 2 rings. Now, those 2 rings is a way to be more compatible with other types of filaments, and then you slide it over there. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that that's what that is. Basically, what we're gonna do is we load up the filament. We're gonna put it through the filament tube over here, and we're going to then drop it down into the box. We have the filament coming out already, which is great. You could also go ahead and just install that tube right now. No reason why not. Perfect, just like that. And now what we do is we put our box back on. All right, nice and tight, beautiful. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna install that right over here. And we put that right in there. Now you're gonna take this part, which we took off before, and we're gonna snap that right back in. So just find the groove, you see, and now it's on. And then this part goes right through the run-out filament sensor, and then you just kind of stick the tube right into there. So now, basically, the filament just comes right out of the dry box filament holder, and it goes right up into the printer. This is exactly what you want. This is perfect. I love this. It keeps it nice and dry, and I think that's actually really, really, really cool. Okay, so since my table really doesn't move, I'm gonna actually forego putting these on. It feels like it's on really sturdy. There's no wobbling on my desk. I'm curious whether you guys have put these on and you felt that it actually helps or not. I'm not gonna put them on. I hope that that's not a mistake, but I'd love to get your feedback in the comments. Okay, so far, now that I've basically assembled most of the unit, I will tell you that in comparison to the Plus 4, the size of these linear rails and dual motors, it looks like there is definitely 2 motors in here as well. The linear rails are also, from what my measurements show me, also 10 millimeters, so please correct me if I'm wrong. The shafts are, you have dual shafts on both sides as well, so you definitely have that going the same here on the X-Max as it is on the Plus 4. And then I've also measured the bed, and it's also 6 millimeters. So far, in terms of like linear rails and everything, those are the same. Now, it's possible that they may have upgraded the motors themselves to a better motor, I don't know. But I will tell you that it looks like the heated chamber is different in the Plus 4. They've kind of improved on that interior heated chamber, and the circulation is a lot better. Other things I've read along the way is I was comparing the hot end. They've definitely improved that hot end, and they've gone ahead and they can now actually print a little bit hotter. So for example, I believe that before the max printing temperature was 350 degrees. It is now 370 degrees on the Plus 4. In terms of print speed and acceleration, those are still the same. Both of them sport an Ethernet adapter. There is no camera inside this unit. So that's something that you do get with the Plus 4. We're gonna start this up now, and we're gonna go through that calibration as well as using the piece of paper. That's one of the things, of course, that also are not in the Plus 4, that you don't have that requirement of doing the paper test for the Z-offs. Let's begin. We are going to turn it on. And the first thing we have to do, there's actually something on the bottom here that we have to pull out. So I am going to do that. We have to basically raise the Z-axis here in order to do that. So I'm just waiting for it to boot up here. All right, so we're gonna start with the basics. I'm gonna select English. Yes, I removed all the ties. It's gonna direct you after you boot up your screen with all the things that you need to do, the unboxing, the removal of the screws, etc. Okay, about to moving platform, please make sure the platform is clean and unlocked. Okay, So now at this point, they're going to say, all right, it's time for us to raise the Z bed, and click the up and down arrow to basically release what's underneath it. All right, so we're gonna do that. Now that we moved up the Z-axis, it wants us to clear out from underneath. Let's make sure that, I think there are two. Go ahead and lift it up a little bit more. So according to this, you do keep this on. Do not take this part off. You're just basically taking out these two pieces over here, and this stays on from what I could tell. All right, so now let's move on. So let's move it next. Keep pushing the filament into the filament runout sensor until it reaches the extruder. Done that, but I want to show you something there that really kind of bothered me a little bit, and I do want to show you that. Something else here that I did not like about, I mean, I love the dry box holder. And by the way, that's another thing that's different than 4 Plus, is that it does not have a dry box holder. It's really just an open spool holder, and then you pass it through. But on the Plus 4, you press it in on the side. And I've actually found that that would actually make a lot more sense. This has not been the easiest. In fact, usually I have this issue, and I've seen this also on the QIDI K1 Max. It have similar problems. So when you're getting your runout filament, when you're getting your filament through the runout filament sensor, and by the way, to do this, you would definitely have to remove this, and you're gonna have to now kind of push the wire, push the filament through all the way till it hits the end of the extruder. And, you know, things can come off along the way. So again, it's not really ideal. Sometimes I think the best thing to do is to remove your filament altogether and essentially do this first, where you kind of load it up. And then once you reach the end, then you're good to go, and then you kind of put it back in at that point. But here's where I have a big problem. Essentially, even with cutting your filament on an angle, you end up having this situation. When you send the filament up, I often have gotten this thing stuck right over here. And this happens to me, and it happened to me a few times already, where you're trying to stick it up through the filament sensor, and you have to really kind of angle it, and it gets really tricky. And often what I have to do is take out the blue clips like so, and you kind of have to adjust it accordingly, and you know, trying to wiggle it around, and then you can put everything back. Not a fan of that. Wasn't a fan of it on the QIDI either. I really love printers that you just kind of load it in, and it detects something that's loaded in, and it pulls it. You're not going to get that on the Plus 4 either. You still have to push it in on the side, but because it's on the side and because it comes through, it really, I think you just have a little bit more leeway to get it across. I hope you don't run into the same thing where it gets stuck and then you have to remove the tube on both ends. But I definitely have had to do that here, and it's something that I wanted to point out on the QIDI that kind of makes it a little bit tricky sometimes when you're sending your filament up. And again, I'm using their filament. I cut it on an angle. I put in the tube. Everything looks right here. And so if you see something that I'm not doing right, then, you know, obviously tell me in the comments. But that was my experience. So now let's resume with loading up the filament. And here they say, click the left side button to start heating and setting the nozzle temperature. Okay, so basically this is where I would heat this to 220. All right, I guess I have to wait here till it loads up. So you can see here the bed is coming up. Okay, so it's doing that automatically for you. So we're gonna wait till this reaches 229 or whatever it is that you set in there. Again, you could put 220, you could put 250. Okay, so now that the temperature has reached 250, we hit neck, and it's now time to load. Ensure that the filament into the extruder, click below button for loading. Okay, at this point, we're now going to press that button, and we're gonna see if anything shows up. And let's keep pushing this until we see it. Okay, there it goes. Okay, guide tutorial has been finished. Please perform leveling and input shaping before printing. Okay, we are now set to go. And one of the first things that I recommend doing is upgrading the firmware here, because often when you do things like leveling, you might find that you do the leveling and then all of a sudden you do the firmware and then it removes all your levelings. It looks here that we are 4.3.13. That's actually great, because guess what? That means we do not need to upgrade the software. This is actually the latest version of the software, 4.313. Now you could definitely go to your network, and you do have Wi-Fi here, which is great. So I definitely recommend setting it up at this point. I'm gonna go put in my settings right now. Now that we have a successful connection, it's gonna save the Wi-Fi data, and you'll get your IP address over there, which is good because you'll be able to put that into your Orca Slicer or Bamboo Studio. Okay, so here we are doing the calibration. We're gonna go from the home screen, we're gonna go to the settings over here, and we're gonna go to calibration. Now, typically, you would say, okay, set Z offset, and that normally would be the place that you would think you should go, because according to the instructions, that's what they tell you to do. However, what you actually are going to end up doing is you're going to hit auto bed leveling first, because if it's your first time setting it up, it's going to actually prompt you to do the Z offset prior to the auto bed leveling. And something that I noticed is this: when you do the Z offset, and let's say you went to this first, it actually will not heat up the bed, and then you're going to get false results, because the bed is going to need to expand when you do your Z offset paper test. You're not going to do that when it's your first time setting it up. Instead, you're going to go straight to auto bed leveling. It's going to then say, all right, we're going to wipe out your Z offset if it detects that you've done that already, and then it's going to prompt you to heat up your bed. And then once it heats up your bed, it's then going to ask you to do your paper test, and then it's going to resume with the auto bed leveling. This is something that I came across while I was setting it up, and I just wanted to show that to you. When that's all said and done, you will do input shaping. And now at this point, we're going to proceed now with the bed leveling. Before they do anything, preheat the hotbed to the filament printing temperature. So that usually tends to be about 60 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. And that's good. We'll leave that at 60. And as soon as that number climbs to 60 here, we can hit that right arrow button. Now, just FYI, it does take some time to heat up this bed. So just, if you feel like it's going slow, it is slow. Okay, so we finally reached 60 degrees Celsius. It took quite a long time, a really long time. And maybe that has something to do with the very thick heating bed that it has of 6 millimeters. But it took a while, but it's finally done. And leveling will reset the offset value. Okay, so we're gonna now do the paper, use the special paper for build plate leveling. And we are going to put it in right underneath the nozzle, and we're going to try to move it out as we lower it. Here we go. We're going to first lower it down, and as we're lowering it down, each time we're going to go ahead and try to raise it a little bit. And all right, so now at this part, I know that I've gone too far because I cannot take my paper out. So that's a little bit too much. And so now we're going to start going by the fractions here, and we're going to lower it down till it becomes free. So really what you want to do is you want to be able to move the paper in and out just like this, but you want it to kind of be scratching that paper, and that's how you know you have a good level. And sometimes you've got to play around with this just a little bit. I think I might be okay. I'm just adjusting it now just a little bit more. And I feel like that's pretty good. So I'm gonna keep it as that. So now that that's done, I'm gonna hit next. We're gonna save that. And now at this point, we could do the input shaping. And we probably should close the door because I don't think that we would not. Yeah, let's close the door. Okay, all right, so now the input shaping is gonna begin, and you're gonna hear a lot of loud noises and humming, and that's all perfectly normal. And what's important is that during this process, you don't touch your table and you don't move things, and you let the printer do what it needs to do while it is on a nice stable surface. Okay, so now let's begin by doing our first print. We're gonna go right to this icon. We're gonna press 3D Benchy, and it says bed leveling. Let's assume that we didn't just do the bed leveling and we were loading something up through a USB, let's say. So it says over here, printing with enclosure may cause high temperatures and softening of filament, leading to clogging. So please open the top cover and keep it ventilated. So we are working with PLA, and I am leaving the top cover open. So I'm gonna hit confirm. And that's it, and now it's going to begin. Okay, so let's take a look. Wow. Wow. All right, I gotta show you this. Okay, this is really good. Whoops. This is really good. You know, very slight imperfections, very, very, very slight, like barely noticeable. Good layers over here. Little bit of ringing over there, but very, very minor. The biggest imperfection I actually see is on the overhang here on the archway. We definitely have it on both sides over here. But again, that could also just be the filament. It is just traditional plain PLA. It's not PLA plus. You know, I could definitely try it on other rolls of filament or types of filament, but very, very impressive. So let's break it down. We have a decision to make. Should you go with the X-Max 3 or should you go with the Plus 4? I think the best way to answer this is to first go through the pros and cons, okay? For the QIDI Max 3, the pro is that it's bigger, 325 by 325 by 315 millimeters, as opposed to the Plus 4, which is 305 by 305 by 280. The other pro on the QIDI X-Max 3, which is not available on the Plus 4, is that it does have a dryer box spool holder, which is really cool and keeps your filament dry throughout the process. Aside from and one other thing, currently right now in Bamboo Studio, only the X-Max 3 is available where you will not find the Plus 4 yet. I would not be surprised that soon it will be released, but right now, Bamboo Studio just has the X-Max 3. Now, you can find the Plus 4 and the QIDI Max 3 as well, both in Orca Slicer. Now let's look at the pros on the Plus 4. So first and foremost, it's got a higher nozzle temperature, which basically should be able to allow you to print abrasive materials better and maybe even more of a selection, so that's a plus. The Z offset calibration is automatic, something that you would expect out of most 3D printers today, where when you set up a Core XY printer, you press a button and it just sets everything up automatically, similar to a Bamboo Lab printer. And that is available in the Plus 4. Both of them sport color LCD screens. I think the resolution is a little bit better on the new one, but they both have, I think, about 5-inch displays. Another pro for the Plus 4 over the QIDI X-Max 3 is the compatibility of the QIDI box. Now, that's not to say that they won't make it, but right now they're not mentioning compatibility on the Max 3, but they are mentioning compatibility with their multicolor filament system, which is going to launch in the first quarter of 2025. Again, it's called QIDI Box, and not only does it do multicolor filament support, but it also has that automatic feeding, which I really love automatic feeders. I think it just makes it very easy. Let's see, anything else? It has a camera, and then apparently the frame construction is industrial grade. I don't know what that means. This apparently is not industrial grade, so maybe that's going to improve more when it comes to quality. That I mean, if you make something stronger on a Core XY, it probably is just going to mean that maybe you'll get better quality out of it. Oh, in terms of sensors, I will tell you also that the Plus 4 not only has the runout sensor, which so does the QIDI X-Max 3, but they also have a tangle sensor. So that's good as well. All right, so after all that, oh, and one last thing. With the X-Max 3, they do provide you with 2 different types of hot ends, depending if you're going with abrasive versus non-abrasive. By default, you come with the non-abrasive that could print PLA, PLA+, TPU, PETG. But then when you want to do things like ABS and ASA, you have to start getting the hot end that's meant for abrasive materials. They include it for free with the QIDI X-Max 3, but in the Plus 4, it's one hot end to rule them all, like Lord of the Rings. So that is kind of cool. You don't really have to change anything. You could just print whatever type of filament you want. And again, these are both $799. So when would I recommend this? If you are at an intermediate level and you'd want an amazing deal at a large Core XY printer, and you love that dryer box solution, and you don't mind the Z offset calibration, well then this is for you. And this is a great deal at $799. And listen, down the road, I am sure they're going to come out with the X-Max 4, and I wouldn't be surprised that it won't be a build size of 350 by 350 by 350 or 400 by 400 by 400, but it's likely going to be over $1,000. Right now, at just under $800, you could get this massive Core XY printer. I think it's an amazing deal, and that's why QIDI has it priced out at the same with the Plus 4, because it's still a contender. And as long as you don't get bummed out by that Z offset, you're going to get amazing prints out of this thing. For the Plus 4 user, if you're a beginner, you are thinking of getting the Plus series for your classroom, your maker space, you really just want zero hassle, and you really want that multicolor capability, well, then the Plus 4 is for you. I will also say that the Plus 4 will support the latest version of Clipper. The X-Max, I'm guessing, is a version earlier. I don't really know how that makes them totally separate, but I don't know why a firmware upgrade couldn't fix that, but whatever. Anyway, so with that being said, they're both amazing printers, but really at the end of the day, you deciding which printer to get is going to come down to you and the type of person you are, what level you're at, and then who this is going to be meant for. So that is my conclusion. Thank you again so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.